regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on a holy field, I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meals. I pissed them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh drugs. Call me private label, I be leaving breadcrumbs.
273 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is My Passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. How you doing, honey?
Good. How are you?
Great. That sounded like a Tony the Tiger commercial for a second there. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! All right, Living Soil Foundation, y'all. That's the foundation we started to clean up Western North Carolina from all the junk that happened after that hurricane, and we're making a bit of progress, if you know what I mean. And we're going to keep documenting it. We probably ought to make a playlist right here on YouTube, talking about all the different things we got going on there. Want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat right now. Thank you so much, as always. If you would, hit that thumbs up so they know to automatically start suppressing all this fantastic information that they don't want you to know about. All right, so we're going to jump right into it with, and by the way, if you want to give to Living Soil Foundation, I guess we have a website being worked on right now, but it has to be done at
Give, Send, Go, Living Soil Foundation.
All right, there you go. Michelle, I don't think you can do both at the same time. She's got this dog back up in here, and yeah, so hang on. That's better. All right.
You can see.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe that's too much better. Yeah, you got it basically where our heads are, where it's got like up to the neck, and you look like a foot taller than me in this thing.
No, it's your chair, Billy. Your chair, it keeps sinking. You got to raise your chair.
No, I raised the chair. This thing it's an awful chair. Well, anyway, it's good to be with y'all tonight. And Rick, Caveman, Amber, hey, you got to bear with me with these glasses, y'all. It's all I can do to see anything. Crazy
Homestead
backyard chicken man.
Twin says, put it back on the dog.
Yeah. Yeah, Michelle, hands up here. She'll be playing with the dog, and
I'm
then
petting the dog.
You got to pay attention to can't look. I know women are known for multitasking, but this is a little too much for you to look at the chat, take notes, and pet the dog all at the same time. Because you got a cat in one hand and the dog.
There's no cat in here.
Yeah, almost was. And yeah, by the way, before we started going live here, y'all, yeah, that little bloodthirsty cat of hers. I mean, it's crazy. This was a feral cat, the best doggone barn cat you ever seen in your life. And this sucker will sit here, murder a mouse, a vole. I don't care what it is, man.
Rabbit.
Rabbit. She will kill everything. Like some of these rabbits are like enormous,
as big as she is.
She'll kill every last one of them, dump them right there at your feet, or you'll walk out the front porch and then bam, you just stepped on some guts. She'll take the head off of them like, hey, what do y'all think? So anyway, you can't complain. It's a good barn cat, but yeah, so this cat just got finished killing a rat, and then you got it all up in your face.
I didn't have my face touching hers. I was just holding her.
That's how the plague gets started.
No, it doesn't.
People sitting there getting all hugged up with these cats.
Yes, I think that's exactly how the plague started, Billy. People getting hugged up with cats.
Hugged up. Yeah, hugged up with cats. I can't believe that's not on somebody's shirt already. So I'm sure it's coming. Anyway, so we'll go to the farm news. And one observation that I've made, folks, I don't understand what's going on, but every single day there are crashes. I mean, like all up and down the interstate. And I don't know why. I mean, I can't figure out why. I don't have a clue, but all I know, that's just, I'm really good at seeing patterns. And that's one pattern that seriously seems to be going on in a big way. Every single time you turn around, I don't care if it's one of the highways or one of the interstates, there's crashes everywhere. So I'm curious if everybody else is saying the same sort of thing. Actually had almost blue skies today. And I'm looking on Twitter. Now, we are on Twitter, by the way, folks, if you ever want to check us out over there. We do have a footprint over there. So if you want to subscribe, I'm going to try to be a little more active on Twitter. We're also on Facebook, even though I don't know how to access it. Instagram, haven't been really active lately because doing a lot of the remediation work around here has actually taken a lot more time than we ever thought. And we're hoping it's going to pay dividends big time in the future, but we'll come to that in a minute. So anyway, we had semi blue skies tonight, and here's today, and here's one of the slick things they're pulling, y'all. And tell me now, when you live in the mountains, you can see mountains in the distance. If you look right above you, you'll think it's a blue sky. Well, it hasn't been that blue since right after the hurricane. You'll always see a mist or some
It looks hazy is what it looks like. And when we first moved here, like when you look at the mountains, they looked blue. Like you could clearly see the mountains, unless it was like the middle of summertime when it was like one of the hottest, humidest days, you wouldn't see that haze. But then the last couple of years, it's like there's this haze when you look at the mountains.
A constant haze. And a lot of the hoople heads around here can't seem to put together that this ain't normal. Like Joel Salatin wrote a book called Folks, This Ain't Normal, and it ain't. And it was like I was on the phone earlier with T from Mountain Readiness, and he was telling me about some stuff. And he brought up something I thought that was absolutely, I mean, it was bombshell if you stop to think about it, but just common sense. He's like, man, I don't know why people come down on you like a ton of bricks when you talk about weather modification, but they can easily accept that we can split the atom, that we can put chimeras in a test tube, have test tube babies, do all these other technological advances, but you don't think they can spray stuff in the sky and control the weather? And I'm like, that's pretty profound when you stop to think about it. But every single day, the only time it did not happen was there was a week after we were in a drought, basically a week after the hurricane came through, for solid, I want to say 40 days that we didn't have any rain. And it was the bluest blue skies you've ever seen in your life, y'all. That is normal. That part of it was normal. And like T was saying today, he says right before this big weather crisis, watch, they're going to spray like nobody's business. And if you look on Twitter, it seems to be a phenomenon all over the globe right now. Everybody's like, and folks, sound off in the chat and let me know what it's like where you are. But it's like, I mean, every single day they are spraying the living daylights out of us, and you can't get people to care.
Well, Tabitha sends me pictures from either Georgia or Texas when they spray. Amy at Mountainside, I can't remember, Mountainside with Ken and Amy. She sends me pictures of them spraying out in Hot Springs.
Yeah, it's all the time. It's all the time. And you can't get most people, or they want to call you a conspiracy nut. There's one lunatic that lives locally that keeps making these quiet threats about what he's going to do the next time he sees me. Okay. Yeah. Pack a lunch, bring a friend, and practice falling down, bro, if that's the way it's got to be. But yeah, if you want to have the debate on it, well, we can have it. And I'm looking, Dane Wigington, strange enough, reached out to me about 2 weeks ago, and then he reached out. I missed his phone call because he's like 3 hours behind me. Folks, if you don't remember, I interviewed him a while back. He and I have become pretty good friends, and he's from geoengineeringwatch.org, probably the world's foremost expert on these things. And he was telling me probably 3 weeks ago of the weather event that is about to befall the southwestern United States. Well, not just here, but southeast. I mean, yeah. And well, really all over. He was telling me about this 3 weeks ago based on what they were doing with the chemtrails. And he's been pretty active on Twitter as of late. So I tried to call him back. I'm going to try to get him back on the show, hopefully this week, and talk about the things that are unfolding right now, because he's been, like I said, we talk pretty regular, and he's been telling me this stuff was going to happen long before. And folks, it's not any accident. I mean, this is just what it is. So yeah, just hang loose. Okay, so here's another little thing I just got to bring up now. Jimmy Carter just died, okay? For some reason, this must be the Mandela effect. I thought the man was already dead. But anyway, Jimmy Carter just died, right? Okay. And then I've heard about some of the freaky things some of the weirdo Democrats did. Not that I'm a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not either. Remember, it's not red state or blue state. It's the state against you. That's exactly. And these guys are all friends behind the scenes. Ask me how I know. I used to work in this sort of thing. But anyway, Jimmy Carter died a little while ago. And I was kind of looking through some of the bio that they had on there about him. course, I know a little bit about him. I mean, not everything. And they're giving the 10 facts you didn't know about Jimmy Carter. Well, let me tell you one fact about Jimmy Carter you didn't know. Okay, back in, I want to say it was 1979. Now, prior to that, Jimmy Carter had just got finished saying that he thought the country was off course November, and it happened November 22nd, 1963. If you don't know the date of that, that was when they murdered JFK, right, in Dealey Plaza in Dallas. He started openly musing about the idea that he needs to get to the bottom of it. Well, here's one of those facts about Jimmy Carter you're never going to hear, not from Fox News, Fix News, MSNBC, CNN, none of the prostitute media. So right after he openly started musing about that, now prior to that time, George H.W. Bush, another polecat, I mean, diabolical SOB, if you really knew the real story about him. He was CIA director, but not long after he got out, he was only in for like just under a year, if I recall right. Anyway, in 1979, after Carter was openly musing about getting to the bottom of who really murdered JFK, all of a sudden there's an assassination plot on Jimmy Carter. You've never heard about this, have you? And then all of a sudden they picked up two guys. The first guy's name, now you tell me if this sounds like the deep state was at work then. The first guy, there was two guys. His name was Raymond Lee Harvey, and the other guy was Oswaldo Ortiz. I kid you not. Folks, you can't make this up. Oswaldo Ortiz and Raymond Lee Harvey. Raymond Lee Harvey and Oswaldo Ortiz. Now, as I recall, they ended up letting these guys go because they didn't have enough, but it was enough to send the shot over the bow of Jimmy Carter to basically say, hey, bro, the deep state was saying, don't start no SH and there won't be no IT. That's exactly what was going on then. So, yeah, this is crazy, crazy stuff. And you'll never hear this from the prostitute media. This is some of that occulted history that nobody's ever going to talk about. But anyway, I thought I'd tell that story. I think I got the dates right. I'm pretty sure that was 1979. Raymond Lee Harvey and Oswaldo Ortiz. I'm pretty sure that's the name of these clowns. But anyway, if I recall right, they had to end up letting them go. And guess what? Not Kennedy, but Jimmy Carter basically say, I've lost control. I mean, he openly stated, I've lost control of the government. So by all rights, I mean, he seemed like a decent dude, but just seemed over his head with, obviously I don't agree with anybody 100% politically, not unless it's Ron Paul or somebody like that. But anyway, I think he was really trying to do what he said he was going to do, but all of a sudden he acquiesced. Like, no, we'll just save this for somebody else to get to the bottom of what really happened to JFK. But he even recognized that that it was a coup. That's exactly what happened. It was a coup d'etat that happened November 22nd, 1963. He tried to get after it in 1979, and guess what? Nope. Got on the first thing smoking. Anyhow, look me up and tell me if I'm crazy. So anyway, folks, if you haven't already, that deserves a thumbs up because you're never going to hear stuff like that from the Main Street prostitutes. So on another note, Michelle, we're prepping for cold weather, very, very cold weather. It looks like it's going to be record kind of cold weather. Maybe not record for us. I mean, both of us we've lived in places like, on the edge of Nebraska, Kansas. I've been up in Alaska. And I'm going to be talking, hopefully, in some videos, if I can put them together, about what to do. Because, frankly, folks, this is heartbreaking. What you realize, they just gave, what, $3.4 billion to Ukraine, another $3.4 billion. I may be wrong on those numbers, but somewhere, what's another billion? Meanwhile, I'm driving up and down the road here, folks, and I'm looking at people still living in freaking tents. You and I were there, what was it, Sunday?
Yes, yesterday? Was that Sunday?
Yeah, that would have been Sunday. Yeah, every day feels like a Monday right now.
Like even if they're not tents, they're RVs, which
by
are
the
not
river.
Yeah, and it's always like 10 to 15 degrees cooler, at least 10 to 15 degrees cooler down in that area than it is at our house.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's right by the river. And it's one of those communities where, people with not a whole lot of means, you want to live in a beautiful spot. And, I don't know anybody else out there. I don't know anybody that has the name Rockefeller, but this is one of those places where, people with limited means could live in a decent place. It was a beautiful neighborhood. Everything was fine. And I wanted to kind of take pictures of, and I will, because folks, it still looks like downtown Baghdad over there. People living in freaking pup tents. And meanwhile, we got 3.4 billion to send over to Ukraine. And I don't even know how much we're giving to Israel right now. But meanwhile, there are people right here where I live in Western North Carolina still living in freaking tents. And they're talking the weather. I mean, I don't know what it's about to be.
Yeah,
but my heart aches for these folks.
I think it's still a few days away for him to be completely accurate on the weather. So we're just gonna have to pay attention to just the next couple days to see if they can just zero it in a little bit more.
Well, like Amy B says, I think the polar vortex will be testing systems. You better believe it.
Well,
and that's
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, this is where you find out, folks. If you don't, look, I'll just give you a little bit right now because we've lived in extreme environments, and the cold being one of them. Look, they make a thing called heat trace, and you can find it at Lowe's or Home Depot. You might want to get it now before it falls off the shelves if you're in any one of these places. But I mean, they make it very, very simple. They make an electrician version that we would use in industrial settings. But you basically just take some glass tape and tie it alongside your piping, and you plug it in. And it even has a little thermostat on it, and it's good. Most of them are good to about 40 below. I mean, if you're in a situation like that, then you got issues. But we're talking day after day after day. It's not like we're going to have any kind of respite, I mean, I know people up in Michigan, the Homestead twins up there, boy, they know how to deal with this
They're
stuff.
they're like that's
man, what's
nothing.
The big deal, man?
Yeah,
I mean,
down here, if they see white stuff, it just shuts everything down.
The first time I remember seeing those guys, we were out there at SOE. Man, everybody's out there freezing to death, and these guys are in t-shirts.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. I mean, when you come from up north, man, I mean, you're able to you're more adjusted to this sort of thing.
And your systems, like everything, construction is built for it. But down here, it's just not built for it. And I was listening to Weatherman Plus today, and he was talking about Atlanta getting like 6 inches of snow.
What about Florida?
He's like, that will shut the airport down if Atlanta gets 6 inches of snow.
Yeah, it's about to get really, really bad around here. And folks, call me whatever you want, but I'm telling you what, it's all a manufactured crisis. I mean, they're doing this on purpose. It's like they didn't murder enough during the hurricane. Well, they're going to kill them on the back end, and that's exactly what they're working on. I mean, I kid you not, folks. I can drive you through. In fact, I need to do more videos of this, but I'm reluctant to do it because I don't want to engage in the same gratuitous vulgarity that I see other YouTubers doing, where it's, they realize, if it bleeds, it leads. And I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to focus on what we're doing to fix the problem. But I got to put it on. I got to keep this stuff in the forefront. I got to show y'all. I mean, literally minutes from where I live.
The thing is that there's people living down there still. And I think we have to be respectful of the people living there, but somehow still let everybody on the outside know what's still going on. And I don't know how to do that.
Well, I know how to do it. We can do it at B footage, and I'll do it in some kind of way, but I'm going to give you all a real-time example of just how bad it is. I mean, there are piles of debris still piled up. I mean, like Ann Vandersteel, when she was up here, I was talking to her, and of course she's from Florida, and she's like, okay, when a hurricane comes through, man, they got this thing picked up in about a week, no matter how bad. Maybe 2 weeks, a month at the very most.
They also aren't dealing with the terrain. They don't have, they're not dealing with.
Yeah, but they're not either. In the areas where we're talking about, it's not like we do have terrain around here like this, but that's not where these debris piles are. And if they can put a telephone pole out there, believe me, they can snatch it up out of there. I know how I've been in construction a long, long time, and I know what's capable.
So why do you think those debris piles are still there then?
Because they have no funding. Because we're giving all the funding away to, I don't know, you name it, Ukraine, how to teach transgender studies in Afghanistan. I mean, everything you can possibly. I don't even know why anybody's paying taxes anymore. I mean, this is insanity. This is absolute insanity. And I am beyond believing that this is beyond coincidence. You're not going to tell me this is an accident. And sadly, I think part of the reason why they targeted this area, I mean, I know it's multifaceted, but I think part of the reason why this area was particularly targeted is because you have a compliant population that will just take it. I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
They will, no matter how dreadful the government comes down on them, they just say, oh, okay, yeah. Or I just want to live in peace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? That I just want to live in peace.
Which is what somebody said, which is what the local residents said around here when presented with a scenario.
Not scenario, it was presented with the facts regarding the testing around here. People think they're coming down on us like a ton of bricks because we revealed what the real truth was concerning the testing. And I'm being told that I'm being run down in some of these forums. Well, hit me with your best shot because I got the goods. I mean, do you think I'm a complete moron? Do you really think I would come out here and drop these test results along with Bear and Dr. Will without having the goods? Do you really believe that? And then we got sleazy reporters calling up saying, we need to know where your lab was from. No, Jack. And what did I tell him? Well, it's sad for you that I don't trust a single person in your profession, because I had him on speaker to make sure. Yeah. And bro, if you're listening right now, don't think you weren't recorded. Okay. So if you think you're going to misrepresent what was said in there, I know exactly what I said. And I told you, I don't trust a single person in your profession. You are all prostitutes. Well, how do you begin a conversation say, I need to know where your lab is? Why? So you can go back there and I can never get honest reporting again? Yeah. You're barking up the wrong permaculture pimp daddy, bro. I didn't just step out of the cotton fields and I ain't falling for that. So I don't trust you. I don't trust anybody in your profession. So unless you're a reporter that I do trust, you're not getting anything. So, but anyway, we still have yet to drop that manhole cover on the heads of Mountain True. Yeah, because these dummies actually sent out their lab reports proving that their results were actually worse than ours. Yeah, so we still haven't dropped that one yet, but it seems like I guess they think if they're quiet, maybe we'll just go away, or maybe they realize some hooplehead they have working in the office sent out the report that they didn't want everybody to see. But guess what? We got you by the kishkas. So don't start no SH, and there won't be no IT. Where's my little sticker that the Homestead Twins made?
It's downstairs.
Downstairs. Doggone it.
We'll have to keep it up here.
I need to put it up on the sign. Anyway, that's what's going on around here for folks. Just keep everybody in prayer around here. Yours truly and Michelle as well. We have slings and arrows coming in a bunch of different directions, some of them even spiritually. So we're dealing with that as well. And look, we're not giving up. We're not going to walk away. We're not going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to just live in peace if it means the cost of not bringing the truth. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, she actually said that. I just want to live in peace. And it was in response to, they're lying to you. I said, does it bother you that they are lying to you? And her response was, well, I just want to live in peace. And then we had another person come up to us while we were out working. I know she meant well, but she's like, try to pull the old, well, and this is, you were standing right there when it happened. She comes up, well, really wish you hadn't put out that report. These people have already been through enough. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, I don't know what you mean. That's exactly what I told her too. I was like, no, I don't know what you mean. If I had children down here playing in this stuff, I would want to know about that. And when did we become so pussified? I mean, forgive my use of the word. No, don't forgive it, because I'm being dead serious. When did we become so pussified?
Since the victim culture, since victim culture became the what people identify with. The last 4 years, it was happening before that, but like everybody wants to be a victim. That's what it's like what they want to be known for. Everybody gets on social media and talks about and I'm not saying that there's not, but like that shouldn't be your identity. You've got to deal with it and move on. But some people are content to stay there. And also, when she first said that, I was like, well, yeah, I understand these people, you're right. They have been through enough. But at the same time, and it took me a while to figure this out, but I'm like, okay, if that were, and this is what I've said from the beginning, if that were my kid playing in this toxic soil and nobody said it, and people out there knew and they didn't tell me, I would be absolutely furious. And these people can handle it, because if you don't tell them, their kids are going to end up sick, and then you're going to have bigger problems. So the not telling them because you don't want to, you don't think they can handle it is absolutely insane.
Yeah, but where do we become so pussified? Now I'll qualify what I'm saying. I knew a guy named Samuel. He was an African dude. I knew him in the Army. And he had been through horrors that would crush most people. He was an African, and he came up to America, and I'm pretty darn sure that he was one of those soldiers, one of those child soldiers, okay? He had seen horrors that would crush most people. I've known other people that have come from other countries that have been through things that I can't even talk about right here on YouTube. They would cancel the feed if I told you what they'd been through, the horrors they'd been through. They come here, and how is it they've somehow were able to transform their lives from the horrors they were going through into something that's not only productive, but a blessing to those around them. But somehow these people who, yes, they've been through horrors. I get that. So what? It just qualifies you. I mean, look at my own background, man. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm going to talk about some of it, sadly, here in a minute. Look, man, I'm not going to sit here. Look, man, I got two parents that were convicted felons that took 6 kids on a bank robbing spree, had a mom that was as crazy as a 3-headed cat. But that didn't give me license to sit here and be a victim for the rest of my freaking life. And then what kills me more than anything, these ones that are so quick to call somebody a racist all the time, they see somebody like me and they come up and nothing gets my goat more than people coming up to me and they're talking down to me because they think I'm just some ignorant coon that, no, I mean, that's exactly what they do. They think I'm some knuckle dragging ignorant coon who doesn't know. And then until I start speaking, and then they realize, oh, okay, we got one that's out of a matrix. And then when they find out that I'm not a victim, that I never thought I was, despite the horrors I grew up with, all of a sudden, they don't like me very much. You ain't got to like me. There's a whole lot of people in this chat that I know would like me just fine, and I guarantee I'd like them too. But I'm not a lifelong freaking victim. So I hate it when people treat me like I am, despite some of the nonsense I've been through. So anyway, yeah. I guess I'll just move on because I'm about to lose it right up in here. Anyway, we'll just go ahead and move on. So anyway, y'all, you know what I'm balling right here, the Wave Watch. And yeah, all you folks that have reached out to me and said you're loving the Wave Watch, now you know what I'm talking about. Now you know why for the longest time I've been wearing this thing for months in the videos and I didn't talk about it because I just would not allow myself to believe that this thing was actually working. But I got it on right now. I need to put it on Solfeggio because I'm gonna start tripping up in
Billy,
here.
Don't try to do anything. You need to just do one thing at a time.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. I'll do it when Eric's talking, or I'll do something. But anyway, no victims up in here. See, look, Amy says, loving my Wave Watch. Yeah, a lot of folks have gotten them, and they seem to be digging them too. Thanks, Denise. Want to give a shout out to Denise and Ben from Renewed Homestead, handling the chat board over there. So yeah, it's like whenever they weren't there, man, some clowns jumped. And then I had this one guy email me, took issue with the fact that I called him a penis wrinkle because he was tripping in the chat. And I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah, I remember that, but I was
you're over here insulting these people.
I'm trying to remember what he was. I mean, I don't know who emailed you, but I know that night there was a couple people that were losing it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm reading it right. Irma, she says, what about those glasses? Yeah, these are my blue light blockers that she's supposed to be wearing too. I can't tell you where I got these because they got these satanic symbols on the side of them. And I'm not about to give them any kind of business. So,
but if you do like a search for Dr. Jack Kruse, Kruse, You can find some of the glasses that he recommends. Those are what you got, right?
Yeah, well, they were like an offshoot, but if you go to him, you're going to find a couple of different brands on there. So check out Dr. Jack Cruz. But yeah, and there's a reason why I'm wearing these doggone things, and I'm trying to get better. I got a yellow pair, which I usually wear, but I'm trying to get myself into wearing these the red ones, because they block all the blue light. But actually, I'm working on trying to get light bulbs, some old school light bulbs, which, by the way, under the Obama administration, they literally got rid of all of them, made them illegal. And if you check out Dr. Jack Cruz, you'll find out the reasons why. It's not as innocent as you may think. And it's not like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, that it's because they're more energy and defense. Look, I'm an electrician, okay? Been one for a long, long time, almost 30 years, okay? And I'm telling you what, of all the energy that comes out of your home, your light bulbs are probably the least biggest culprits. It's probably, I mean, if you got a dryer, it's using up a lot more than bulbs. If you got an electric range, oven, guarantee it's using a whole lot more. Electric heat. But they didn't address any of those things. They went after your light bulbs. And if you listen to Dr. Jack Cruz, you're going to find out the reasons why. So
along with a whole lot of other stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want one of these wave watches, like I said, I need to put this thing on Solfeggio. Go to wavewatch.com, put in Billy 100, you'll get $100 off. So thank everybody for that. Also, coming up March 18th through the 22nd, Shalom Temple got a 5-day immersion event. Jonathan Otto is going to be there, and guess who else? Who's that Australian chick? Barbara O'Neill.
Oh,
yeah. Had the pleasure of being in a live chat with her the other day, man. She seems like a really sweet lady.
I thought maybe there was somebody else added to it.
No, there's a number of other people there. I'll be doing a class there on how to remediate your soil. Mike the Fit Farmer is going to be there as well. And it's going to be a 5-day immersion event. So look, anywhere I can find out any way to mitigate what's going on around me, this dumb stuff, and Barbara seems to have a lot of that going on, I'm going. And Jax is a freaking genius. I mean, I've had her on the show. Can't wait to have her back. And
yeah, and I'm working with her, and she's worth her weight in gold and more.
Yeah, so she's so modest that she's never going to tell you how much of a flipping genius she really is, because she's taken, like, what we do in permaculture is that we take some of the best. I don't know how much of what we do is truly original to us, but what we do is collate the best information from all the best people. Let's say, for example, in orcharding, we take all the we cut and paste the very best stuff and put it into a system that works for us. And then we convey it to you. Haven't done a whole lot of that lately, but man, I really love to get back to it. But anyway, that's coming up March 8th through 18th through the 22nd. And that's going to be at the Tyron Equestrian Center in North Carolina.
Is it Tryon?
Tryon. What did I say?
Tyron.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly how I spelled it. So it's Tryon. Yeah. I think I knew a kid named Tryon growing up, but that was.
I bet that's where that came from.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it did. Anyway, May 2nd through the 4th, the best homestead festival, preparedness festival you don't know about, but you need to. It's called Mountain Readiness. And go to mountainreadiness.com, get your tickets there, y'all. I mean, I'm talking active duty guys, everybody from Delta Force, Green Berets, SEALs, Rangers, Sappers, all of us are going to be there. And it's not one of those things, ladies, if you feel like this is one of those events where it's just going to be so test on. There's a lot of ladies out there on the roster as well, and they're doing some fantastic stuff also. But I'm telling you what, in fact, in my class, I was doing rigging. There were more women in that class than men. And by the way, the women outdid the men by many, many magnitudes when it came to tying. I don't know why, but women just are so much better at knot tying than men. And they were showing up the men. So guys, hey, sorry for your bad luck, but the ladies got it together when it comes to knot tying. Anyway, that's going to be on May 2nd through the 4th, mountainreadiness.com. You're going to want to check that one out. And also, folks, before I get into the good news, Redemption Shields got 10% off, and they might even have another. Just put promo code PERMA in there, and you're going to get another in addition to whatever they already have going on. So I'm actually going to be buying some headphones from them, and I can't wait to get them in because these make me look weird. I'm looking at myself on the screen right now, and I look like Kazoo. I look like Kazoo from the Flintstones wearing this thing and these glasses. Look like I ought to be shot out of a cannon right now. So anyway, yeah, go check out redemptionshield.com if you need anything shielding or grounding. All right, so let's get into the good news here. Now, newly released documents expose CIA's dark MK Ultra mind control experiments. Now, why is this so important? Well, for me, from a personal standpoint, I'm just going to take a minute and explain this, because if you haven't listened to some of my older podcasts, you don't know how I'm related to this. Well, my mom, when she was incarcerated, she was used by Dr. Jolyon West himself. Go look him up. The same guy that treated Timothy McVeigh, Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby. He was a madman, and he was an MD. Remember, MD doesn't mean medical deity. Anyway, my mom, it was a living nightmare growing up in that house. And she was one of his victims. For years and years, we didn't know the reasons why. And later on, I was listening to a podcast from a guy named Jan Irvin. It was called the Gnostic Media Podcast. And he had a guest on there that talked about all the hotbeds of where MK Ultra victims were brutalized. And that's exactly what they did to them. I mean, unthinkable things, y'all. Hitler and them only came up with the idea in many ways, but it was the U.S. government that actually put it to work. And when the, in the 1970s, I'm trying to think of the guys, the church committee hearings came out. All of a sudden, they burned up all these documents that had a whole lot to do with MK Ultra. Well, because of government inefficiency, a lot of these documents came to light, and we ended up finding out what we did find out is on another level. And this is what we know of. And it went on through Canada, went on all throughout the planet. Well, anyway, my mom was mixed up in this, okay? Yeah, they used to use prisoners for some of their MK Ultra experiments, and they're still doing it. If you check out, once again, Dr. Jack Kruse, you'll find out they're still using it to this day, and they're using the blue lights on these tablets, on your phones, and there's ways to block it. I mean, we've talked about it before. These are one way, and then there's also an app. I don't know if it's really an app, but you can make your
It's a way to it's the settings on your phone that you can set it up so that you can have the red, like a red screen, a red filter on your phone.
Yeah, and it works. And so they're more subversive, and it's way more pernicious now than it ever was back when they first started it. And believe it or not, the mob is where they got all this stuff from. They got it from the mob, and they figured out, oh, okay, we put people in the casinos, and we do certain things. Well, that's kind of what spurred it on. Anyway, that I won't go into the whole history of that, even though I could give it all to you right now. That's not what the show is about. But anyway, some of these things are coming to light. So it was a Cold War initiative, supposedly. Over 1,200 classified documents revealed that the program's disturbing scope, confirming unethical practices at the CIA, experiments that often targeted ordinary citizens, inmates. They used narcotics on them. They even would rape some of these people just to see the effects. I don't care if you're an inmate or not, man. You don't deserve that. What does it say in our Bill of Rights? Cruel and unusual punishment. I would think rape is part of that. And they did a lot of that stuff up in Canada. And it all happened. Well, anyway, a lot of this stuff happened at like Georgetown University as one of the testing grounds. A lot of places in West Virginia, Oklahoma, where I grew up, and where Jolyon West eventually ended up setting up at Oklahoma or University of Oklahoma. I'm sure they'd like to redact that one from the records, but anyway, that's where he was. He was one diabolical SOB, and the things he did were unbelievable. But anyway, some of these records are starting to see the light of day. And for the sake of people like my mom and others like her, I truly hope it all comes out, or at least some of it comes out. I'm not optimistic. Okay. Like I said, we still don't know what happened on November 22nd, 1963, even though we're really pretty sure that the CIA murdered the commander-in-chief. Okay. So good news number 2, major meat supplier in the U.S. caught using glue on meat to stick together scraps and sell them as prime cuts. Okay. Reason why I'm calling that good news is, check it out. I got all my butchery videos online that you can watch for free. So you can do this yourself. So I can take a bad news story, turn it into a good news story. If you want to get the paid version, I think we got that listed. Probably. Do you still
linked on the website? It's we have it linked. It'll take you to Sow the Land's website.
Yeah, so this is some cold-blooded stuff.
And you won't have to glue your meat together.
No. Now some of you are going to hack it up and make it look like the LaBianca murders. But hey, if it weighs, it pays. Every one of my students knows that phrase. So if it weighs, it pays. If you're my student, you know that phrase. Man, that all rhymes too. That ought to be in a song. So last one, shocking report in the UK finds 95%. Now, just bear with me on this one. 95% of COVID-19 deaths were among the vaccinated. Reason why I'm calling that good news is that maybe now the truth will come out regarding all the people that were led to believe by the politicians and the people in the media that this was a good idea. Well, there are ways to get this stuff out of you. We've talked about some of them. Some of the pilots, a lot of the pilots out there are using, what is that?
Cardio Miracle.
Cardio Miracle. Yeah, that's what they're using right now. So if you've taken this thing, there are ways to chelate this stuff out of you. Check out Dr. Anna Mihalchik. I'd like to get her on the program, but I think she's too dignified to be on the show called the Pimpcast. So anyway, I'm trying to get her to talk on here. But anyway, EDTA, you can take it orally, you can do it rectally. Or you can do it intravenously. There's a number of ways you can go about it. That is one awesome way to get this stuff out of you. Plus, it'll chelate all the heavy metals out of you as well. That's one way of going about it. And there's some other things out there. I would highly recommend everybody go out there, get Dr. Brian Ardis's latest book. I don't even think I can repeat it on here without having this video flagged. Just by talking about this article, they probably demonetize the video anyway. So anyway, that's why I'm saying this is good news, is because now all these polecats, it's the dam is starting to break regarding some of this stuff. And I'm hoping they hang these people from the walls by their entrails. I mean, yeah, that's cruel and unusual. So I can get on board with some of that, because these people, Fauci and the whole gang, they are absolute mass murderers. And it's starting to come out. And I hope it does. But like I said, if you were one of the people that took this thing, go check out the resources I talked about, and you can chelate this junk out of you. Whereas before, they didn't believe it was possible. All right, with that, we're going to go into my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip, the most positive element. The following is from a recent post by Jeff Lawton, and you can only imagine the amount of negative comments. Is our default human nature to be negative, or is it a condition of our society? The biggest challenge to being a positive force on this planet is our ability to put obstacles in our own way. Here we go. Overpopulation doesn't scare me at all. In fact, I believe we need all the people we can get, but only if they're operating positively. Let me explain. Some big names in the environmental movement see population as a root cause of global problems. And yes, we add 230,000 people to the planet every single day. All of them need food, water, and space. The problem isn't the number of people. It's how we manage our resources and our planet. In permaculture, we say the problem is the solution. What if instead of seeing more people as a challenge, we see them as the greatest opportunity to heal the earth? Imagine if those 230,000 new people had the skills to regenerate the landscape, grow nutrient-dense food, and build sustainable communities. And instead of being the problem, they become the solution. Humans have the potential to be the most positive element on this earth. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. And if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And for those in the Sacramento area, check out my permaculture community group, permaculturefairoaks.org.
That's my dog, and I didn't cut him off this time. How about that? I couldn't agree more. I mean, you could take the entire population of this entire world on planet Earth, and I think I heard that you could put them all in Jacksonville, Florida. If you had each one of them touching hands, fly over the country. Look how much of this land is wasted, just absolutely decimated. And how many people, honestly, what if instead of teaching children transgender studies, we have permaculture courses in high schools and colleges. How about that? Because I guarantee my life would have taken a different tact, a much different tact. Well, maybe it wouldn't have. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know on the back end of these things. But point being, Eric, you couldn't have hit it more and Jeff Lawton. I mean, hat tip to him. And we need to get him on the program as well. The pimp daddy of permaculture.
Yep, I'll find out the female doctor's name and we'll put it in the show notes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Dr. Miauchik.
Michelle, you got to say this as if.
No, I'm reading the things.
Yeah, but you got to read the question so the people that are in the audio format know what you're talking about. Because if I don't know, trust me, they don't know either.
Okay, they're wanting to know the female doctor's name, so I'm just letting you know. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll link it.
All right. So EMP Shield, y'all, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Been a journeyman wireman or electrician for a lot of years, and look, things jump off. You're not going to the club. You're going to his house, or you're going to your bug out place. And EMP Shield is going to make that happen. And check it out. Lightning hits your place, and Kentucky Fries anything downstream of it, they're going to cover you for 25 G's. So that's why EMP Shield is a sponsor of this show. And like every other sponsor on this show, they don't reach out to me. I reach out to them because I know their stuff works. Whether it's a Wave Watch, whether it's Redemption Shield, whether it's an EMP Shield, nobody says, hey, let me give you a bunch of money. And that happens. Let me give you a bunch of money if you peddle this stuff. Negative, nephew. Unless I reach out to you, we don't have a deal. That's pretty much how it works. Unless I haven't had anybody reach out to me with a product that I thought was worthwhile. It's always the ones, hey, I'll try it out. And then if it works, I'll reach out to you. So anyway, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. So we're talking about this education, and it's on the heels of what Eric was talking about to a certain extent, is that, first of all, if you can possibly do it, I know a lot of people can't, but if you can possibly do it, man, even if you can't homeschool, undo a lot of what they're learning at that dinner table if you have that option. Look, I know a lot of folks are doing all they can just to put bread on the table, and homeschooling may not be in the cards for you. I get it. I totally get it. But whatever time you can allow, maybe consider the modalities of education. Now, I'm gonna talk about this I think both of us can actually talk about it from a position of authority. Look, there are 4 modalities of education. You got a college education, which we both have. You have a military education, which we both have. You have a trade education, which we both have. And you have a farm education, which we both have. You know, it never occurred to me that we both have all quadrants of the 4 quadrants of education a person can have. We got all 4. Was that by design? Possibly. For the most part, for me, a lot of it had to do with where my curiosity led me at that time. But before you consider the farming lifestyle, I want you to consider something here. You might want to consider, of all the different quadrants out there, my college education, and neither did hers, neither one of them put a dime in our pockets. Not that was worthwhile. Can you agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah. And of all the modalities of education, that one cost the most by far, by many magnitudes. Now, the good thing is that because we were both veterans, because we were in the military first, well, I had actually gone to college and went to the military and then went back to college. And anyway, not knowing what direction, not knowing what I know now, we had the GI Bill. And I was able, with that GI Bill, to finish up the college and get my bachelor's, and then use the remainder of it in my apprenticeship, which you can do, by the way. And that's where I got my trade education. And then when I say trade, I'm talking about my electrical, IBEW journeyman electrician, 5-year apprenticeship. And I went through it. She got her apprenticeship done in, really a number of things, but let's just say welding. Okay. So she went to welding school in addition to going to college at KU, getting a degree there. Now, people make that transition from a desk job into farming, and they start to say, oh my goodness, what did I get into? Especially when you come across weather like we're about to have right now. And then that's when you're going to find out whether or not you were cut out for this life. I guarantee it. And it's also these times where everything breaks down. Everything breaks down in the winter. And I mean everything. I don't care what it is. It all breaks down in the winter. Now ask yourself, if you had a neighborhood where you had at least one carpenter, one electrician, one plumber, one welder, and a roofer, and each one of y'all helped each other build your homes, you would almost have no mortgage. I mean, think about this. This is how you could go about this. If everybody did it like the Amish did, then nobody would ever have a mortgage. But I digress. We get into this space. A lot of people think, oh man, they watch some of our videos, or maybe you watch Renewed Homestead and you think, man, that's an idyllic lifestyle. Man, it looks beautiful there. You get into this and you don't know the full extent of what you're getting into. But I can tell you one thing that will help determine whether or not it's cut out for you. There's two parts of that quadrant. One is the military, which I do not recommend. No, I'm dead serious.
No,
I do not recommend
I
it.
know.
And the trades. And the reason I don't recommend the military, let me use a quote from Henry Kissinger, okay? And I memorized it. Military men are big, stupid animals that should be used as tools for foreign policy. If you doubt me, just look around. Remember those weapons of mass distraction? Mass distraction, that's exactly what it was in Iraq and Afghanistan and all this. You know, when I was working as a electrician at the VA and I'm looking at all these soldiers coming in, blitzed out of their minds or missing limbs. Yeah, that, just think of that Henry Kissinger quote. Now, you can go ahead and learn. You can use that as your precursor if you want, but I would not be into combat arms if you consider the military. And what I mean is, well, just look up what a combat arms is in the military. I don't recommend anybody going in there, especially if they're going to jab you up. And they are when you go in the MEP station. They're going to hit you with everything known to man, and a lot of that stuff you don't even know about. So no, I do not, until they get rid of the vaccine mandates in the military, and I'm not just talking about the COVID, I'm talking about all of it. I do not recommend going in there because Lord knows what they shot us up with.
Well, and that's the thing. They can, when you go in, you basically sign away rights to anything. They can do whatever they want, and there's different rules regarding general population in the military, and they will give you stuff that they will flat out lie about it and not even care. And then they could potentially do it multiple times if there's, like, before a deployment. Like, it's not a one-time thing, it's a repeated thing.
Every time you go on any kind of deployment, they're going to shoot you up all over again. So I mean, Lord knows, I mean, I just thank God that William turned out okay. You know, with all the jabs that we had. I mean, there's a lot of people that wind up with kids that just don't turn out right. And the Lord blessed us. Well, anyway, the reason why I suggest starting off in the military or the trades, and I don't recommend a military, even if you have a kid in high school or otherwise, fundamentally, it teaches, either one of those teaches you the consequence of your conduct. Like I said, I didn't come from a good family, so I had to learn these things on my own and in these environments. So part of the problem being, when I come across some of these people that get into this space, some of the younger folks, they're either out of high school, out of college, and you know, they realized, oh shoot, my guidance counselor lied to me. I just got myself here in $150,000 worth of debt, and I got a degree that I can't even hope or dream to get a job in doing. Ain't gonna happen. Not unless you spend even more money and get an advanced degree, and then you're lucky if you find a job. So you got screwed. You got robbed. Cool thing about going into a trade is that you will make more money in that trade. Ask me how I know. There's a reason why I retired at 47, okay? If you do the right things. Now, there's most guys in the trade that go out there, I'm going to buy me a new truck. That's the first thing they do. Or I'm going to buy a house I can't afford. Or I'm going to go out and marry a stripper, and she's going to run off with another stripper, a man dancer, or whatever the case. So you're going to have all your blockheads that are going out there and doing the wrong thing, okay? but then you could also do the right thing. And it, like I said, not only does it teach you the consequences of your conduct, while doing that trade, you're also going to learn a little bit of something about being with alpha men, because that's typically what are in these trades. And the last couple of times I was out there, I mean, Asheville's the only woke construction jobs I've ever seen in my life. And I've worked all over this country before I got out of the trade. I mean, absolutely woke. Now, you're going to find out a lot of these kids, they go out here and they run their mouth at somebody. And what they don't yet realize, and they learn it either in the military, you will, or I don't even think they'd let you do this in the military, because if you ran your mouth too much, somebody's going to put you through a 5-minute flurry of fists. And if you do it on a construction job, you got half these guys, depending on the job, that could very well be running away from something. Well, you got some good old boys. You got some old boys in there that really know their crap. Their whole life may be a crap show, but they are very, very good at doing, let's say, electric work or plumbing or whatever the case may be, carpentry, you name it. Their whole lives may be a mess, but man, they are really, really good at what they're doing there. So if you can have a chance, if you're thinking about getting into the farming, I would consider doing a trade first, just to find out ask yourself whether or not you're cut out for it. Because guess what? In the weather we got coming up, good times, bad times, in the military or in a trade, you're working in that stuff. And there ain't no escaping it, especially in the military. I mean, it's cold, it sucks. You better suck it up, because where are you going to go? And the same thing on a job, in a construction job. So you're going to find out in 4 seasons what it's like to sweat profusely, let's say in a factory where there's no wind coming in or out. Or you're going to know what it's like to be in there freezing all day long, and you still better have your calculations on point to bend that conduit and make it turn out right. You see what I'm saying? So you learn in some of the harshest environments how to do a task when the conditions ain't wonderful. Carpentry, same thing. You're going to be working in these environments, and it's a really good testing ground to figure out whether or not you think you're cut out for this work. And you're going to find out whether or not, okay, if you can handle it in those environments, I promise you can handle it in the farm environment, because you can, to a certain extent, remove yourself from things when they get tough. But honestly, there's no removing yourself from it in a trade environment. I don't care if you're a welder. A welder in the winter probably ain't all that bad.
I think it also depends on if you're like manufacturing welder or if you're like a pipe welder.
Right.
If you're in manufacturing, I can't imagine like it's only going to be so bad.
Right. But when you work in the construction trades, and plus you got a trade nobody could ever take away from you. Folks, if you only knew how many people hit me up. I don't even do electric work anymore unless it's for my friends. And even then, I only charge them what it costs for the materials, and I consider it, you're my friend, man. I mean, I'm not going to charge you for that. But there's people, I did work at a bakery, and now everybody and their great grandmother's calling me. I mean, they're like, hey, who did your work over here? I need him to come up. Will he actually show up? And I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not really in the game right now, but if I were, or if you were, or you have a child that's coming up and can't figure out what they want to do you really want to send them off to college to go get indoctrinated and be a pile? I mean, like thousands and thousands and thousands in debt that they can never repay? Or do you want to put them in a trade where you can make good money, retire early, start your own business if you want to? There's all these different things that you could do. And then plus they're going to know what it's like to be a man or woman dealing with other alpha people. And I mean, most people in this environment are typically alpha. You're going to have some betas over there, but they're going to be dogged. But by and large, you're going to run across a lot of other alphas out there. And if you got a kid who wasn't raised with a dad, or, dad was a dirtbag, ran off, whatever the case may be, this is a good way to get him around some men. They're going to show him what it's like to be a man. I'm dead serious. So you got, and also on a farm, it's like Darren from Hacks for the Homesteader always said, it's like all the different jobs he did led up to life on the homestead. And I couldn't agree more. It's like everything I did in the Army, not everything I did in the Army. I mean, there's not a whole lot of use for explosives on a homestead, but, but a lot of the other things I did, I mean, when we came here, we had to rappel down these mountains. Where do you think I learned how to do that? All the knots that I have to do around here, where do you think I learned all that? I mean, you can take all these experiences, but if you go straight into farming, yeah, you can absolutely do that. But if you're a kid or a person that's considering this lifestyle, I highly encourage you to get not just one trade, get as many under your belt as possible. You know, long before homesteading became something of a fad, I'd gotten in the butcher's trade because the whole notion of not getting back my animal just made me sick when you drop it off. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the very best place. And I did. I learned how to do it under Michelin star chefs, former Michelin star chefs. And I learned the craft very, very, very well, to the point where that's another trade I have. And if for any reason, let's say things go sideways or I got to fall back on something, it's not really falling back. Because the truth is, if I was out there running my own electric business right now, I'd make a whole lot more than I do right now. And I can do it. I mean, I love the work. I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing. But that's not where I want to be. Right here is where I want to be. I mean, what I'm doing, this stuff better work out because I love what I'm doing every day. That's why we don't go on vacation, right? Because we spend every day doing what we want to do. I mean, that way you create a life, or you carve out a life that you don't need a vacation from. I know that's cliche, but you know, that's essentially what we've done here. Now, it's not all peaches. You're going to have some tragedies. You're going to lose animals. You're going to do all these other things. But it's also good to know that unlike a lot of other people that are in this space, that if things go sideways, I got 3 other careers I could easily do, and I'm good at all of them. Okay? So there's a number of different ways you can go about this thing. But folks, I highly encourage you, especially right now, if you're telling your kids, go off to college, go do this, do the math on it. Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, remember that show?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he still talks about just what a good deal the trades are.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Rowe is talking about it right now, and there is a deficit of people doing trades. And they're recruiting them. You know, back when I was a kid, I used to roof houses. That's what we did during the summers. And man, I thought I was making a killing because minimum wage back then was $3.15 or something like that. We were making $6 an hour roofing houses. And I was like, of course, we blew it all on pizza back in those days. But I mean, it was the 80s, man. Pizza and Coke, man. I mean, we lived on that stuff. It was a great time. But that's where we spent.
That's a great time to you.
When you're a kid.
Pizza and Coke.
Well, when you're a kid, and you know, when you got a psycho mom at home, and hey, hey guys, let's go get some pizza. I mean, I talked to Dion, my best friend. It was funny. I don't know how much money we made, but we spent that whole summer. We didn't have money to buy school clothes. We spent every single bit of it on pizza and Coke. I kid you not. But I mean, hey, you live and learn, and you figure it out.
Yeah, I had to buy school clothes with my my summer money.
With your pig money, right?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. But what did it do? It taught you the consequences of your conduct. You raise a good pig, you make the money off of it. And so, you know, you're able to do some pretty awesome
things. I
things.
saved every dime. Had it all in my savings account.
Not me.
Didn't blow it on pizza and Coke.
Not me. I was showing up to school the next year with high waters and stuff that didn't fit because I didn't make any money on that summer. Yeah, I learned. I was balling next year, though. But the point being is that even if you have a kid that does not know any direction, go out there, put them to work with a tradesman or tradeswoman. I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of very capable women that do these trades that are in many ways more capable than a lot of the men out there. So, I mean, you can find them. You know, they got Votech out there. You know, they always wanted to classify kids that did shop courses in high school as dummies. Well, who's the dummy now? They got a trade. They're out there doing good work. I don't care if it's doing drywall, man. I don't care what it is. If you can go out there and do these things and make yourself a living doing it, and you didn't get into debt, you're money ahead. Like I said, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, man, he talks about this extensively. And if you're over here spending all this money, I mean, tons and tons and tons of money to go send a kid off to go get a degree in worthlessness, or you yourself made the mistakes that we did, then maybe you might want to rethink it. Can you dig it? That's what I'm talking about. All right. So We're going to go into Q&A right now. Let's see here. I did construction with my uncle 10 hours a day plus driving time and got $50 cash. Thought I was rich. Yeah, that's exactly how we rolled. That's where we've kind of lost a lot of things right now. A lot of kids aren't, going out there finding a job or having to work for it or understanding. We know the price of everything and the value of nothing in this country. So anyway, we got some questions here.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody moved to a new place and they want to know raised beds or in-ground garden. The natural soil is rock and clay. What would you do?
Well, it depends. I mean, folks, when I say that, it's not a cop out. In permaculture, we say it depends a lot because there's a lot I don't know. But generally, I always like to go with a raised bed because I can control the conditions there a little bit better. And plus, I ain't getting no younger. I would rather work from an elevated to have my bed in an elevated position because it's a lot easier to work and harvest there. So if you can get 2 feet above the ground in a raised bed, I mean, not everybody can do that, but hey, that's the way I roll.
Have you tested with the tri-field meter?
Yeah.
Is it from RS?
Yeah, I got one of those, tri-field meter. And that question's regarding RF signals and stuff like that and things flying around. It was going back to some of the stuff going on around here. I tested my niece's those ear pods that everybody likes to wear. Those things were worse. Those earbuds that everybody walks around with the Bluetooth, folks, I kid you not, I did it. And I know I did it on Patreon, but I think I also did it on YouTube. I tested those things. Folks, you are out of your mind if you're using any Bluetooth, anything up against your head. It's worse than the phone. I kid you not. And her reaction was, I was like, hey, let me test them things out. So she turned them on. And it was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, what's going on
Homestead Twin said, what should my ground look like from my 200 amp, my main 200 amp service panel? I don't think it was done right.
Okay, so the minimum in the National Electric Code is that you're probably going to need your ground. It should be grounded with, if I'm not mistaken, at least number 6. It might even be number 4 soft drawn copper, and that should go. Now, I know I'm going to speak Greek, y'all, to a certain extent, but I think these days they're demanding number 4 soft drawn copper. At least that's what I would use anyway. And it should be bonded at your meter base down to a ground rod that's driven all the way down. So that's usually going to be the best way to go about it.
Okay, what's the difference between the yellow and red glasses?
The yellow glasses are usually for daytime use and the red ones for nighttime use. But in order for me to even read anything, and it seems like because I'm standing in front of that red light therapy bed that I got from Jonathan, Jonathan Otto, myredlight.com. And I can't remember what the promo code was. But anyway, it looks like my eyesight's actually getting better as he said it would by standing there and looking at this thing. You don't look at it the whole time, but you spend a little bit of time looking at it. But anyway, before I couldn't read anything with these things, but now I'm able. It's getting better, but I can tell it's improving. So anyway, the yellow is more for daytime usage and the red for night, but although you can use the yellow at night.
And then somebody asked what was the lady doctor's name, but we're going to put her Dr. Miauchik. It's kind of hard to spell also. So we'll put her information in the show notes.
Yeah, Dr. Anna Mihalchik. Folks, you want to definitely, she's a PhD and an MD, and she's wicked smart. And she's basically realizing and telling everybody EDTA. In fact, she has a live blood microscopy lab, and she has a YouTube, not a YouTube channel. She's on,
is it Rumble?
Rumble. And I wish I had my phone up here and I'd give it to you right now. But anyway, she has a Rumble channel, and she also has a Substack, and I can't remember the name of it right now. It's America Free, whatever. Anyway, she does live blood microscopy and shows what happens when you take EDTA and how it will clean up your blood like nobody's business. And she'll show you the before and after. And then you also want to take EDTA with vitamin C and stuff like that. But anyway, it will chelate that junk out of you. So here we go. Operation, what's that saying?
Did Truck Island happen? Operation, I can't read from.
Happen Operation
before or
Hailstone.
after Pearl Harbor?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's one of those things I'll have to look into. Thanks for the homework, fellers. Thanks, because now that I go down these rabbit holes, I gotta find out. There's no getting around it. But hey, yeah. So check out a lot of this stuff that we've talked about, y'all. And like I said, as a little side note, like I said, Jimmy Carter just died. Raymond Lee Harvey and Oswaldo Ortiz, the guys that were out to murder him. Sound like a coincidence to you? No. And you ain't ever, go find it out for yourself. Go look it up and check it out. So, yeah, Google says,
After.
Bear said it was really before, which led to Pearl Harbor. Yeah. Whole lot of crazy stuff out there, y'all. All right. I want to thank everybody in the chat tonight. I want to, and hopefully some of this stuff is, let me just kind of put an exclamation point on one thing, y'all. Look, you don't have to have it all figured out. Like I said, we got military, trade, educations, and there's a lot of people out there in this chat right now that got multiple skills and abilities and all kinds of things. You don't have to be just because your kid is young or you are. Go off to a doggone Votech. Go say, okay, I'm going to try this carpentry. I mean, really, it ain't that much. Go figure it out. Go say, okay, or a cabinet class, whatever they got. They got classes that are really next to nothing. Go out there, find these skills. And if you haven't made the transition into permaculture or homesteading or whatever you want to call it these days, if you haven't yet made that transition, it's going to give you a good idea as to whether or not you ought to, or whether you're cut out for it. You may not be that person. You may be a person that does better in the office environment, and there's no harm in that. Nothing wrong with it. But there's going to be record. Like I said, now that when Trump takes that oath of office and he raises his right hand, I got my left up because it looks right to you. When he raises his right hand, like I said, you're going to see record numbers of real estate going back off the market because people didn't, and you're going to be able to swoop it up with a butterfly net. Mark my words. Now, you may have to think outside the box like I talked about the last time. But before you go out there and make that transition, see if you're cut out for this work, because not everybody is. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right, y'all. I want to thank you so much for checking us out. And thanks, everybody, for coming in tonight. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
They don't want an individual, just a carbon copy. You spitting that manicotti, yeah, I'm talking saucy. All they want to build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. I'm a kamikaze, got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. Woo! They want to push me to the center like a cell. They want to spin up at the center of the nexus, me. They want me to bow down, but I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. I will never bow down, 'cause I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. They want me to bow down, but I'm a warrior.